So, Teolia, who's done some really terrific videos on a number of subjects, but one in particular, or a couple of them in particular, had to do with the integration of religious ideas into, the modern world. Basically reforming religion. And if you haven't seen her channel, which I'd say many of you already have, but if you haven't seen her channel, I suggest you check it out. But she tagged me, which is I guess is a meme. That I don't really know the rules, but I think they are that you're supposed to talk about, just to explain your username, the origin, or I guess something to that effect. And I don't really know how many other people I'm supposed to tag, but I'm gonna just go ahead and tag a few other people really quick before I explain the origin of my username. First, LyingBastardo. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I just like to. He's had some really, pretty clever retorts to a lot of the anti-Muslim Islamophobia that's been going on. Nanoduckling. Also, lots of really interesting perspectives that are worth taking a look at. And Polarity Records. It's a guy who does all sorts of really interesting music with instruments from around the world. Everything from like a little piano-like device that's made from like an old can to more traditional instruments from all over the world. And he writes his own. He does his own material, and he also has does covers of some fairly well-known music, and he's really interesting. I highly recommend you check out his channel, and of course, everyone should know sofiarune, another really thoughtful channel, unlike my own. A lot of thought goes into her stuff, and so she's worth checking out too. But anyway, those are the people that I'm tagging, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'm tagging you to basically just talk about yourself if you want to, or talk about whatever you want to, but tag you're it or some such thing. So as to the origins of whistling dust, whistling dust is an incomplete name. The full name is Tennessee whistling dust. Around here where I live, poor folks can get tangled up in something called crystal meth, and it's not. I mean, when you actually read the headlines and when you know the people that have been screwed up by it, I mean, it's nothing funny about it. But because I've got a weird sense of humor, it struck me that there was a sort of almost a farcical element to the idea of a working class drug, a drug that basically makes you a superhero for extended periods of time. The reason we've talked about that particular drug quite a bit, because it's basically been a huge blight on blue collar workers in this area and people who don't even have a job. And I'm in construction, and I've seen it firsthand. And it's a nickname that, once you know the origin, is rather in poor taste, I suppose. But it's actually not meant to be. Now, some people use it just recreationally, and so that's all well and good. But a lot of people use it to basically get more work done, because they're working all day, and then they're pulling a second shift somewhere, and in order just to stay awake and to function, some people will take it just to kind of be able to make ends meet. And it got me thinking, what if there was a product that was legal that was made from crystal meth? They turned to things like that just to basically be able to to handle two jobs, but it turns otherwise decent people into into some sometimes deranged lunatics, which I've had firsthand firsthand experience with. I've never touched the stuff. I've seen it really screw up some people's lives, and it was just it seemed kind of like the antecedent to moonshine. It's an illegal substance made by poor people for poor people and trucked around, and it's a part of the fabric of poor rural southern white trash, and I feel a certain affinity for that group because I am that group. And my brother gave it a name, so I really kind of stole the name from him, but he called it Tennessee whistling dust, and even proposed sort of like an ad campaign to go with it, sort of this jaunty Terry Gilliam like farcical Southern Gothic labeling and snake oil salesman type acumen to sell it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a send up of white trash in a way. I mean, because I feel like there's a whole bunch of interesting shit that people could learn from rural rednecks if they had the patience to get past some of the overt bigotry and racism that sometimes comes with it. But I mean, I just I grew this is what I'm familiar with. This is the world I know, and so um, if you like Hank the Third and Mojo Nixon, you know, if you thought Jim Goad had a few interesting things to say in the Rednecks Manifesto, then you'll kind of get the joke. It's a joke that kind of keeps the audience at arm's length intentionally, but I've already said probably too much. But anyway, I mean, it's that's the origin of it. It's kind of whatever. 100% pure Tennessee whistling dust. And yes, I know crystal meth isn't dust. Aren't you glad you asked?